Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I have got a folded blanket. That can be as simple as a thick bath towel. Maybe you've got a beach towel. Nice to have that to sit upon sometimes, pat our knees. Just a great prop to have in general. I've got 2 yoga blocks. That can be as simple as 2 thick books. And although I'm standing on a yoga mat, you might have a living room rug. Not one that's slippery, one that's solid and on the ground. Maybe there's a carpeted area in your house. That's a great place. That's a great yoga mat for today. We will start standing with our feet hip distance in mountain pose, which is really the foundation to all poses. Now, often when we stand with our palms facing each other. We slump. So let's turn our palms away from each other. Let that originate at the shoulder joint. And just feel how that stands us tall. At the same time, we're rooted. Our feet are rooted in the ground. The crown of our head feels inspired to the sky. Our chin is floating parallel to the ground. And we want to try to stop so that we can start. It's really the most advanced thing we will do in this practice together, is to try to stop that distracted feeling like we want to check and see if somebody texted us or see what somebody out the window is doing. And instead, turn the arrows of attention inward. It is key to self-care and to becoming self-aware. Feel your inhale completely and pause at the top, and then your exhale completely and a pause at the bottom. A few moments just standing tall and breathing. Feel also that we have that kind of sway, tiny sway when we stand on 2 feet to stay balanced. You might want to go to the wall and put your left hand on a wall for a little standing balance on 1 foot. That's quite a small amount of real estate to try to stay balanced upon. So give yourself some help. Maybe left hand on your wall. We'll shift our weight onto our left foot and onto our left leg. We want to make sure there's not a collapse there. So hug that left hip into the midline. Hands or maybe just right hand onto your hip. Take your right leg out in front of you. Turn from your hip joint that right leg out like we're dancing a jig. Try that again. So toes to the sky. And then turn right leg out. And let's place our right toes to the inside of our left foot, like a kickstand. And notice our 2 sides are doing something different, right? Our left hip is facing straight forward. Our right hip has what's called an external rotation in it. Don't worry, there's not going to be a quiz. It can stay here. Maybe right foot onto your shin. Could be right foot into the inseam of your left leg, but we want to find a nice solid trunk as we start to grow our branches. Arms out to the side, then ultimately maybe V shape overhead. But remember, left hand on a wall. Awesome way to do it. A few moments to breathe and balance here. We'll bring our hands or maybe 1 hand to our hip. Turn your right knee forward, step down. Appreciate 2 feet on the ground. Now, right hand might find a wall. We'll shift our weight onto that right leg and just be mindful not to collapse that hip out to the side. We want to actually call to action muscles on our outer hips. Now we take our left hand, maybe both hands onto our hips, and left leg will turn out. We have to be careful to stay nice and solid in that right leg. Then left leg up to the sky. Left leg turns out. Left leg up to the sky. We'll do that again. So left leg turns out and becomes a kickstand. Left toes in the inside of right foot now. We want to make sure we're not collapsed out to the side. And this is that 1 leg, right leg pointing forward, left leg turned out, external rotation. Now you might bring that left foot to the shin. You might bring your left foot into your inner thigh. and we can grow our branches. Remember, right hand on a prop is a great way to go. A few moments here. Probably a little breeze through our trees as we wobble a bit. And then hand to your hip, left knee turns forward, steps down. And we'll step into that parallel position, our mountain pose, with a little bit of different awareness, right? We had that shift onto one leg. Now we can maybe appreciate the balance dance that goes on between our 2 feet. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Let's stay with hands on your thighs, press into your thighs, and feel this as a tool to grow long from the base of our spine out the crown of our head. When we fold back in now, it's a hinge at our hips, and we're trying to keep as much of that space we just found in our spine as you can. Slide your hands down, shins, ankles are fine. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. And then glide your arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V. Pause with your palms facing out. Let's add on as we grow a sun salutation, A. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs, shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, remind yourself, hip hinge and lengthen your spine. Now exhale in a little further, but try to stay with that spaciousness. Then rise, reach. Inhale, arms to the sky, a V. We pause with our palms facing out. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hip hinge as we fold, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Slide your hands up and lift your heart. This time, bend your knees as we exhale, palms flat. When your palms are flat, step back to down dog. It's like there's a hook in your tailbone, and you're actively pushing the ground away, not crumbling into bent elbows. So push the ground away. Feel an assist with the hook in your tailbone, and then let's step our feet as wide as our mat and bend our knees. Add more sass, lifting your hips even higher. And now feel how your front body, back body, 2 sides of your trunk get so spacious. It's a delicious pose. Walk your feet forward to your hands, hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. Rise, reach, inhale, arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, and then we pause with our palms facing out. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, fold, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees deeply, palms flat, downward facing dog. From down dog, shift shoulders over wrists. Keep pushing the ground away, and then find your hook in your tailbone and go back to your down dog. We'll do that 2 more times. So shift shoulders over wrists, keep oomping your arms, pushing the ground away, and then our tailbone lifts us up and back into down dog. 1 more time. Plank, shoulders over wrists, and then back to our downward facing dog. We go. Walk your feet forward all the way up to your hands. Hip distance and parallel. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge, fold back in. Inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, and then we pause with our palms facing out. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up. Bend your knees, palms flat, head to down dog. From down dog, we come to plank, shoulders over wrists, but this time knees down. What we're not doing is colliding. So keep pushing the ground away, and you can feel the difference. Our elbows will brush against our ribs. Our hands will keep pushing the ground away. We will lower, bending our elbows all the way down onto our bellies. And once you're there, uncurl your toes. Bring your forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat. As you press into the tops of your feet, traction your elbows towards you. Feel your heart move through the gateway of your arms. Then lower down, place your hands next to your ribs, curl your toes under, come through all 4s. And then our hips lift us up and back into down dog. Walk forward, feet come all the way to your hands. Inhale, slide your hands up, and exhale, glide your hands down. Inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we'll stand with our palms facing out in our mountain. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale. Bend your knees deeply, palms flat. Step back to down dog, push the ground away. Lift your tailbone up and back. Shift it into plank, shoulders over wrists. Bring your knees down so carefully. Bend your elbows, come to your belly. Uncurl your toes and either leave your hands where they are or come back into the Sphinx, forearms down. But we're not guiding with our chin, we're dragging with our hands or our forearms. Press into the tops of your feet, let your kneecaps lift. And then we'll lower this down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. And from all fours, we lift our hips up and back. Into our down dog we go. Walk your feet forward to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, inhale. Hinge at your hips as we exhale. Rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we stand with our palms facing out. Bit of housekeeping. We will be stepping out wide, and now one long edge of our mat will be the front edge. So on the back edge of that mat, take your two tall blocks and set them on either end, but off the side of your mat so that they're not underfoot. Then as we step wide, take your arms wide out to the side, thumbs to the sky, and we'll measure roughly ankles underneath our wrists. Turn your right leg out so that your right foot is facing that short edge of your mat. Cheat your left heel at a 45-degree angle. Bend your front knee. If you have your knee forward of your ankle, scooch that right foot forward so you have a nice vertical line from your right knee to your right ankle. Press your left thigh bone into your left hamstring, and let's meditate and get still in our Warrior 2 position. 30 seconds starting now. We'll slowly straighten that front leg. Turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. Turn your left leg out from your left hip, like when we dance that jig. And then scoot your right heel back at a 45-degree angle. Bend your left knee. Likely your spacing is okay. We were just doing the other side, but always good to check. Thumbs stay up to the sky. We have that vertical line. We've got a 45-degree angle with our back foot, the heel a little closer back behind us, and now we've got a 30-second silent meditation here in our Warrior 2. Now slow motion, straighten your front leg, lower your arms, turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. This is where having our props positioned as we do comes in really handy. Roll that right leg from the hip joint to face right foot short edge of mat. Cheat your left heel at a 45-degree angle, bend your front knee. Now one thing we want to refine is we're not letting our right hip swing back behind us. Think dancing a jig as your right hip hooks underneath you, hugs underneath you, and then right forearm across right thigh. We're not collapsed into our shoulder. This is option 1. Option 2, take your block, put that outside your right foot, right hand down, left arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. A very good time to make sure you've got the outer edge of your back foot solid, that back arch feels lifted and alive. Right hip is hugging underneath us, not swinging behind us even here as we create side angle pose. And I will give you a silent meditative moment in this shape starting now. The way out could be the teensiest bit spicy. We come up to Warrior 2, but we've got to take care of this prop. So first move your block off the side of your mat, come to Warrior 2, straighten your front leg, turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat, and then our left leg turns out. Our back heel, right heel, is at a 45-degree angle. Bend your left knee, here we are, Warrior 2. Once we've got our Warrior 2, once again, we take our left forearm across our left thigh, right arm up to the sky. We're certain that we're not swinging our hips out behind us. They feel to be hugging underneath us, but at the same time, we don't want to round, so do activate that back leg. Other option is left hand on a block on the outside of your left foot. Right thumb to the sky, right arm to the sky. If ever your arms get tired of reaching up, you can always just tuck an arm behind your back. So know that that's an option if the holds feel a little bit longer today, which we're kind of doing some spicy long holds. Let's stay for a few moments of silence in this shape on this side. Remember, we will have a little bit of a moment in Warrior Two, but first housekeeping. Block off the side, up to Warrior Two, a little bit of spice, and then we straighten that front left leg and turn all toes to face the long edge of our mat. One more wide-legged posture for us to enjoy together. Turn your right leg out. Cheat your left heel at that 45-degree angle. We're not going to round into this, we're going to hinge. So your left hip actually lifts up as you find a karate chop hinge at your right hip. Reach out with your right hand. Take that right hand on your block on the outside of your right foot. If you happen to be using your leg, place it on your thigh, push your thigh a little bit against your hand so we're not pushing into an overly straight knee. We don't want to encourage hyperextension there. Spin your inner upper arms away from one another and pause here. It's a front leg that's straight in a soft way. If you press your right big toe mound into your mat, you'll start to feel your muscles called to action, and we like that. Option to stay here, or float this briefly on just your right foot. Left hand comes onto your hip. Your block goes a foot out in front of your right pinky toe. You can lift that left leg for a second. If it makes sense, reach your left arm up to the sky. Then return your left hand on your hip. We're going back to triangle, so take your time. Move your block to the outside of your right foot. Slide that left heel at your 45-degree angle. Free your left arm back up to the sky. Take a peek down, bend that right knee, move your block off the side of your mat. It's a Warrior Two moment. Straighten your front leg, turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat, and now left leg turns out. So our left foot is facing that short edge of our mat. We glide our right heel at 45 degrees, arms out to the side, not a side bend, that hinge. So your right hip is lifting up, and then we reach so far out with our left hand. Left hand comes onto a block, maybe onto our thigh. I really prefer that block, so a book is great. Slide your right heel back at a 45-degree angle. Feel inner upper arms spinning away from each other. Right thumb to the sky. Always, if that gets tired, it can tuck behind your back. It's a soft way of straightening our front leg, pressing into our left big toe mound, feeling our muscles called to action. And now let's get still and silent. Stay here, or right hand on your hip, bend your knee carefully, move your block. We step it and float it on just our left leg. If it feels like you want to take your right arm up to the sky for a moment, you can. And then if you bring your right hand on your hip, it helps guide the step back into our triangle pose. Left hand down, right arm up. Now we bend our left knee, move our prop, come up to Warrior Two, straighten that front leg, turn all toes to face the long edge of our mat, and we heel toe until we can move around and move our props. Now, for some of us, the blocks are going to be a little too low to the ground for the next thing that we do. So what you might want to do is to go to your couch and use the arm of your couch or even the back of a chair for a little bit more height. I think that's a pretty great idea. Now think back to when we did our dancing of a jig. Stand with your blocks in front of you, maybe about 1.5 feet away from them. Stand on your left leg. You can take your right leg just in front of you a little, turn like we're doing that jig, bend your left knee, and find a figure 4, or as close to a figure 4 as you can. Now what we want is to curl our right toes back, so we're not having a floppy ankle. Pardon me for not being able to balance here. It's why being at the couch can be, maybe that's where I should go. And then we'll bend our left knee, hinge at our hips, take the side of our couch, maybe take our hands onto our blocks, but this is a place for quite a bit of stretch. If it's too much, walk up the wall with your hands, up the back of your chair, whatever you're using. We'll stay and breathe. Keep using the support you've got. Step that right foot down. Then reach your arms with an inhale to the sky. Stand in your mountain. You may be, somewhere in the room using your hands on a wall or on the arm of your couch. We'll bring our hands to our hips, and then left leg. Just take it out so you can dance that jig a little bit to design this in your hip. Left ankle on top of right thigh. And then curl those left toes back. Hands might go on your blocks. I think for a lot of us that higher elevation is going to be helpful. I'm going to give you a little bit more time to soak in the silence and stretch on this side. So I'll do less yammering. And we'll pause for an equal amount of time on this side as we did last side. Now, let's use our blocks to step our left foot down. If you're somewhere else in the room, put your hands on your hips, firm your belly, come to standing, and come on back to your mat. If you're here, just use your blocks to help you carefully onto the floor. And then once we're on the floor, we'll take a seat. And imagine that you loved doing that standing figure 4 so much that you decided you wanted to do it seated, which is actually what we'll do. The more you have this left leg sort of straight, the easier it will be to try to find right ankle on top of left thigh. You could even have this left leg straight, honestly, if this feels like a pretty big stretch, because it is. If you start to lean back with your fingers facing away from you and bend your left knee, you might find a place where you can press length into your spine and find a little bit of a figure 4 like we just did standing. I'm digging my heel into the ground and curling my left toes towards the sky. Now, if you walk that in quite tight, some of you might feel a little bit more stretch here. But if it's turning into a big round crumble, back yourself off to a place where you can prioritize a long spine. And now I'm going to give you a whole minute of silence to meditate on this figure 4. Maybe you're meditating on what for. Make your way out of this slowly. Start by scooching that left foot forward. Dissemble the whole thing. Maybe waggle your legs out in front of you. And then just remember, left ankle on top of right thigh could just be here. That would be fine. Then you'll just give a little oomph to your spine. Now maybe you bend your right knee a little bit or quite a bit. It's going to look different on all of us. It should. We're all unique and different and beautiful in our own ways. 1 full minute of silent meditation here. Now remember, take your time bringing yourself out of this. Scoot that right leg forward. Give yourself a little waggle. And then bend your knees and put your feet on your mat hip distance. Ease your way onto your back. Once you're on your back, bring your fingers to the sky like you're a robot. Press your elbows down and scoot your shoulder blades towards one another. Keep your hands, stay like a robot here. Press into your feet, lift your hips a little bit or quite a bit, but feel that you're trying to move your chest through those robot arms of yours, and then lower your hips back down onto the ground. We're going to do that 2 more times. So robot arms, we lift, and we feel that we're pushing our elbows down and really encouraging our spine to get less rounded in that shoulder blade area, and then we lower back, down again. 1 more time. Feel that your elbows press down, outer, upper arms press down. Then we lower down, and we'll scoot our hips to the right and drop our knees to the left for a twist. If you enjoy right knee crossed over left knee, you can do that. Then we come through center and take the other side. So hips left, knees drop to the right. You could cross your left knee over your right knee if that feels good to you. Then bring yourself to center. You could do that shimmy of your shoulder blades underneath you again. If you like Shavasana final meditation with your knees bent, just keep your knees bent. If it feels okay with your low back and anything else, to straighten your legs. Let your legs straighten out, flop open, and then close, maybe cover your eyes, and let's rest and digest. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. If it's time, gather your knees in your chest and roll carefully to either side. Bring yourself up. Find a comfortable seat that could be cross-legged or any other way that feels nice to you. And then with your palms up or down, take a moment to pause like we did at the very beginning, but now just to appreciate. Maybe things feel a little bit less frenetic and a little bit more sweet. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing this again together soon.